Welcome to the National Commemoration for Holocaust Memorial Day 2023. Holocaust Memorial Day Trust is the charity that helps everyone to learn more about the past, empathise with people today, and take action for a better future. The founding patron of Holocaust Memorial Day Trust was Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, whose death has affected us all so profoundly. Today, we honour her support for Holocaust and genocide survivors who made Britain their home, and her commitment to remembering and learning from the Holocaust and other genocides around the world. That commitment has been carried on by His Majesty the King, who, as Prince of Wales, we have been honoured to have as our patron since 2015. His Majesty's dedication to Holocaust and genocide education has been an inspiration. Since the murder of 6 million Jewish people in the Holocaust, identity-based hostility and attacks have continued around the world. Genocide has taken place again and again, and today we commemorate the genocides in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia, and Darfur. 2023 marks the 20th anniversary of the start of the genocide in Darfur. This year, it is on all of our minds that our European neighbour, Ukraine, is under attack from Russia. Their excuse for invading Ukraine was to denazify it, a phrase not only factually incorrect, but chilling in its distortion of recent history. Yesterday, to mark Holocaust Memorial Day, the UK's political, community and faith leaders came together with survivors in a small ceremony to honour those murdered for who they were, and to learn from genocide for a better future. We thank you for joining us today to do the same.
Wolves are proud to support Holocaust Memorial Day 2023.
I am joining you from St Benedict's Primary in Glasgow.
We're joining you from Merthyr Tydfil Libraries for HMD 2023.
We are joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from Eden Girls School, Waltham Forest.
We, Fulham Football Club, are joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023.
I'm joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from Leeds.
We are joining you from St Benedict's in Glasgow.
Hi, I'm Craig Doyle and I'm joining from the home of England Rugby, Twickenham Stadium.
We're joining you from Leicester Guildhall.
I am joining you from Lambeth Palace in London.
I'm joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from North London.
I'm joining from Kentish Town.
I'm joining from St Andrew's House in Edinburgh.
I'm joining from Cardiff.
We are from Basingstoke to join you on the Holocaust Memorial Day 2023.
I'm joining from London.
I'm joining you from Twickenham Stadium.
We're joining you from Jersey.
I'm joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from Hayes, Harlington.
I'm joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from South East London.
I'm joining from Belfast.
I'm joining you for Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from the Buddhist Society in Eccleston Square, London.
We're joining Holocaust Memorial Day from RADA in London.
We are joining from the Race Council Cymru, which is an anti-racism body in Wales. We're joining you from Police Scotland for Holocaust Memorial Day 2023.
We're joining Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 from High Wycombe.
Hello, I'm Kirsty Wark and I'm joining you from London. January the 27th is Holocaust Memorial Day, the International Day of Remembrance for those affected by the Holocaust, Nazi persecution of groups such as Roma, disabled people and gay people, and those affected by the genocides that followed in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur. The Holocaust is still part of living history, but only just. It is our privilege to share with you testimony from eyewitnesses to the tragedy that shocked the very foundations of civilization. The theme for Holocaust Memorial Day 2023 is ordinary people. We're all ordinary people who've made the decision to spend time today learning about and commemorating those genocides. It was ordinary people in those places too, living ordinary lives, who were attacked not because of something they'd done, but simply because of who they were, because of their religion, their nationality, the colour of their skin, or the people that they loved. Ordinary people stood by, watching it happen, persuaded by the propaganda fed to them, or afraid to take action to try to help. Some ordinary people went to extraordinary measures to speak out or to try to rescue others. Other ordinary people were the attackers, the guards and soldiers, the politicians, the railway workers transporting people to their deaths.
Today, I want to speak directly to Britain's Holocaust survivors. Week in and week out, you have shared your testimony in schools and communities across our country. You have spoken the truth. You have inspired us with your courage, and you have taught us where hatred and prejudice can lead. It's not enough to say thank you. I want to say more. I want to say that we have heard you, that we will fight anti-Semitism and all forms of hate wherever they are found, and that we will defend the truth of what happened to the Jewish people now and forever. That's why it's so important that we build the Holocaust Memorial and Learning Centre right here in Westminster, next to Parliament. A promise made by successive governments with true cross-party support. So I can tell you today, we will legislate with a new Holocaust Memorial Bill. And together, we will honour that promise. Your message will stand immortalised in the memorial. Your testimonies will be heard in the Learning Centre, and your call to fight hatred will echo eternally across the generations. So long after we are all gone, your truth will remain, and humanity will never be allowed to forget.
The Holocaust was the attempt by the Nazis and their collaborators to murder every Jew in Europe. From the time they assumed power in Germany in 1933, the Nazis used propaganda, persecution, and legislation to deny German Jews their human rights and freedoms. They used centuries of anti-Semitism as their foundation. With the outbreak of war in 1939, Germany invaded Poland, subjecting Polish Jews to violence and forced labor. Thousands of Jews were murdered in the first months of the occupation. The Nazis established ghettos, forcing Polish Jews to live in cramped areas with appalling living conditions. And they repeated this approach across Eastern Europe as they occupied other countries. In 1941, the systematic murder of Europe's Jews began. Firing squads swept Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, murdering all the Jews they found. By the end of 1941, the first extermination camp had been established in Poland, giving the Nazis their method to continue murdering on a giant scale between 1941 and 1945. By the end of the Holocaust, 6 million Jewish men, women, and children had been murdered in ghettos, mass shootings, in concentration camps, and extermination camps. This was an unprecedented era of horror in human history. But people around the world have continued to suffer mass atrocities and genocide from 1945 to today.
In 1943, Julius Feldman was 19 years old and living in the Krakow ghetto. Life was hard, and the Nazis were building barracks nearby.
Rumours were flying about people being deported or moved to the barracks. Julius wrote a diary and managed to keep it hidden, at great risk to himself, documenting the crimes he suffered.
One morning, word spread that deportations were happening. Julius hid his mother in their shop, and when he returned, she was gone. After searching for his father, Julius realised that he too had been taken.
In early 1943, he writes, A plan came to my head. I could run to the station and perhaps see them, even if it was for the last time. I quickly gathered up whatever warm things of theirs were at hand. I ran all the way without stopping.
What a disappointment I felt when I reached the place and learned that the transport had departed long ago.
All at once, I'd lost everyone who was dear to me. Only later did I understand this. 11th of March, 1943. There are times when my whole life passes in front of my eyes, before and after the deportation. All my memories of those dearest to me, about whom people say more and more that they are living and somewhere working in the East, that perhaps they are well off.
15th March 1943. For the first time, I saw the panorama of our future residence. The barbed wire and guard towers all around.
And in the middle, the tiny barracks, huddled up against one another, that are supposed to hold the entire ghetto. The 18th of March, 1943. About 200 people caught hiding in the deserted ghetto were finished off yesterday.
Finished off means that they were herded to the cemetery near the barracks. There, they were ordered to strip naked and dig a long ditch, and they were all shot.
I'm sitting writing all of these words that are so painful and unpleasant that push out from under the pencil.
9th April 1943. I cannot go on writing. We're in constant fear of a search for money and clothing. All our clothes were taken from us the day before yesterday. Yesterday, we witnessed a hanging.
In 1943, Julius was taken to Plaszow concentration camp, just 4 kilometers from Krakow, and it is believed that he was murdered there in the same year. Julius' diary was found hidden in a wall at Plaszow concentration camp after the war had ended. It ends mid-sentence on the 11th of April 1943.
Since Julius's diary was discovered after World War II, genocides have taken place in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia, and most recently in 2003 in Darfur.
2023 is the 20th anniversary of the beginning of the genocide in Darfur, a region in West Sudan. Under the cover of a civil war that had broken out in the region, the Sudanese government armed Arab militia groups called the Janjaweed, devils on horseback, to attack black African people in Darfur. These Janjaweed raids have caused a humanitarian catastrophe in Darfur. Thousands of villages have been destroyed, hundreds of thousands of people murdered, and millions forced to flee their homes.
Despite peaceful demonstrations calling for democracy over the last few years, a military coup in October 2021 amplified persecution of certain groups in Darfur and wider Sudan, which continues to this day. We cannot say the genocide has ended there. Today, we will hear from ordinary people with extraordinary experience of surviving a genocide. Dr. Martin Stern, MBE, survived the Holocaust as a child, and Amuna Adam escaped the genocide in Darfur, Sudan.
Well, my father was a Jew. He was born in Berlin in 1911. His dad, my granddad, owned a large business which manufactured and sold ladies' coats. And they sold them in the fashionable center of Berlin. It was a very successful business. They lived in a beautiful villa in an outlying district of Berlin overlooking a nice lake.
Darfur is a very big land, and the people there, they are very good, and they hosting everyone. All these people, they come and find themselves as they are a family in Sudan, and no discrimination. All of them, they live in harmony. I grew up in Al Jazeera, and I go to primary school, and after that higher secondary school, and I go to Khartoum University and I study there biology and chemistry education. And also when I graduate from Khartoum, after that I work as a voluntary jobs.
My dad, of course, being born in 1911, was only 3 when the First World War broke out. You see, here was a Jewish family in Berlin. Their oldest son was fighting for the Kaiser and for the fatherland. Well, a fat lot of good it did. Come 1933, the Germans appointed Adolf Hitler as the equivalent of Prime Minister of Germany, and laws started to be passed discriminating against Jewish people.
When I graduate, I go and work in a private place. It's called Comboni. I work with them as a teacher of chemistry. If you have a nice job or you have your skills and you are clever or anything, you can't do anything in your country.
By this time, my dad was no longer a little lad in short trousers. It became impossible for my dad to earn his living as an architect. So my parents fled to the Netherlands. He started making wooden toys in the basement of our block of flats. And when at the age of 3, my mum took me down to see what he was doing, I wanted to play with him. And it took my parents an awful lot of effort and time to explain why I mustn't touch them. He had to sell them to keep us housed and fed.
The government, they can't give me a chance to work as in education of the Sudan. You don't have a job, you can't help yourself.
It was too dangerous for everybody to know that I was the son of a Jew and living in that flat. And then my dad disappeared, and no matter how much I asked, my mum wouldn't tell me where he was.
The Fourth Choir are London's leading LGBT+ choir. There's a Place for Us is from the musical West Side Story. This haunting song was written by Leonard Bernstein, a lifelong humanitarian and the son of Ukrainian Jewish immigrants. The British government played a leading role in establishing Holocaust Memorial Day as an international day of commemoration in 2000. When 46 governments signed the Stockholm Declaration, Holocaust Memorial Day is supported by members of Parliament from all parties, coming together to acknowledge their shared commitment to learn and remember. We're delighted to be joined today by the Right Honourable Michael Gove MP, Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities.
Holocaust Memorial Day gives us all an opportunity to reflect on the greatest crime in human history, the attempt systematically to eliminate the Jewish people. That crime could not have been committed without the active support of so many, and this year's Holocaust Memorial Day gives us an opportunity to reflect on the role of ordinary people. There were ordinary people, people like you and me, who were involved in, complicit in, the crimes of the Holocaust. The American historian Christopher Browning, in his book Ordinary Men, tells the story of those in a reserve police battalion from Hamburg, guys in their 30s and 40s, leading normal lives, who found themselves actively aiding, abetting, and executing the crime of the Holocaust in Eastern Europe. And there were other ordinary people who stood by and said nothing, even as these crimes were carried out. It's a reminder that all of us have a duty and responsibility to challenge racism and to speak out whenever we see prejudice. Because it was also ordinary people in Germany, in Poland, and elsewhere who did what they could to counter the crime of the Holocaust. And it's ordinary people now who are doing so much to ensure that Holocaust Memorial Day is a moment for us all to reflect. We make sure that that greatest crime in history never happens again.
Irmina is a graphic novel by the author and illustrator Barbara Yellin. It follows the life of Irmina, an ordinary young German woman from the mid-1930s through wartime Germany and beyond. We see what she sees and hears, the choices she makes and the way her opinions change. Irmina is a fictional character, but her experiences are based on the life of Barbara Yellin's grandmother. Holocaust Memorial Day Trust has worked with Yellin this year to highlight the book because it gives us an insight into ordinary Germans, the choices they faced, and the complex complicity of being a bystander to the Holocaust. Extracts of Irmina's story feature in today's commemoration, voiced by graduates from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
In the mid-1930s, Irina is young and ambitious.
Oh, look, over there, on the horizon, that dark strip. I think that's it. That's England.
She comes to London on an exchange programme to improve her English, meet new people, and gain new skills. Her host family takes her to swanky cocktail parties.
Then what are you doing here? Looking yourself an Englishman, I bet.
What?
Come on. You can tell me.
What? No. I don't want an Englishman. I want a profession to earn money.
I see. How charming. And how is it going?
Well, I'm just starting out. But I have been accepted to a commercial school for young women. I'm the only German in the class.
While studying in England, Irmina is an ordinary young woman, making friends, exploring London, and she starts a relationship with Howard, one of the first black students at Oxford University, which her friends tease her about.
Our correspondence on the 15th of May regarding our agreement.
On the 19th of May, in the year 1934.
Assurance of gratitude and thanks.
Psst. Tell me, did you kiss? Everyone was talking about you after you left.
Lydia, please. I must concentrate.
But I'm sure you tried. Am I right? If I were seen with a man like that...
I repeat.
All hell would break loose. You're lucky. Your parents are in Germany. I heard...
Lydia, stop it.
Miss Berdinger, as a German, I'd expect you to show greater
discipline.
However, with things changing in Germany under Nazi rule, Emina's parents are no longer able to support her, and in 1935 she is forced to leave England and return home. We will return to Emina's story to find out how she responds to the situation in Berlin.
As Emina was returning to Germany, the Nazis were implementing the Nuremberg laws, denying Jewish Germans many rights and freedoms. Perpetrators of genocides are ordinary people too, who create or take advantage of circumstances that allow them to abuse their power. Those obeying orders were ordinary people, policemen involved in rounding up victims, secretaries typing the records of genocide, dentists and doctors carrying out selections. Ordinary people became neighbours wielding machetes in Rwanda, school teacher turned concentration camp guards in Bosnia, and ordinary people made decisions to ignore what was going on around them to be bystanders, to allow the genocide to continue.
When I was 5 years old, I was at a little school in Amsterdam. It was 1944. It was Nazi-occupied Amsterdam. Two young men walked in, and one of them said, "Is Martin Stern here?" And the teacher answered, "No, he hasn't come in today." So I put my hand up. And as these two young men were leading me out of the back of that little hall, I looked around, and I'll never forget the ashen face of the teacher.
My family also, they are suffering because the government targeting our tribe. If you are 4, I have my brothers, they graduate and they didn't give them a chance to work because he is from 4 tribe. They redundant my dad from his job because he is 4, and we find it's very hard to live, but we suffer a lot. And also the family there back home.
And off these two young men cycled with me on the back of one of their bikes through Amsterdam, talking with me in absolutely perfect, flawless, accent-free Dutch. These two young men were Dutch, they were not German.
Janjaweed, this is like a nomad people in Darfur. They come and kill the people randomly and take their stuff, and everything is valuable. They take all the lands. The war is start in 2003. We decide with our families to make like a group to help these people to prevent themselves from attack of Arabic Janjaweed. But we didn't, because all the Janjaweed, because the government, they supporting them, funding them, and gives them cars, weapons, and everything.
My sister and I ended up in a prison camp in the Netherlands, high barbed wire fence, wooden watchtowers, and I watched the people who were loading the other prisoners in. There were a few railwaymen, a few soldiers. I could see their faces. And the faces are no particular emotions. They were just doing a job. And I think even at the age of 5, I was wondering how such an ordinary looking bunch of men could do that.
It is now November 1938. Ermina is living in Berlin and is married to Gregor, a charming man and a member of the SS. On the 9th of November, she is woken in the night by noises outside. It is the start of the November pogrom, called Kristallnacht by the Nazis, the night of the broken glass, named after the smashed glass that covered the streets from the windows of the Jewish shops and synagogues that had been looted, burnt, and vandalized during the attacks.
Gregor!
Move it!
Louis? But he didn't do anything. Isn't anyone awake? Why won't anyone help? Gregor! Are you awake? Gregor!
What's this pigsty here?
Come on, clear the pavement.
You think you're too good to clean your own mess?
You don't often see lowlifes working. No, not with a broom. You use your hands or nothing. Get a move on.
Come on, Erwin. Let's go.
Everything's free today.
Jew shops are all smashed up.
The blighters aren't wrong, eh?
A little vulgar, don't you think?
Well, the Jews brought it upon themselves.
But if they won't listen?
We were actually taken from there in a passenger train, would you believe it? But then pretty quickly at a station transferred to a cattle truck. And no room to sit. We were wedged standing against each other. Men, women, children, old people. No food, no drink. Towards the end of the journey, I was asking the adults around me why an older man next to me was sleeping with his eyes wide open. I'd never seen a corpse.
When Janjaweed attacks the village, they, as a families, like your grandfather, grandmother, come, your aunties, your niece, all of them sit in one village. And that time, my family in Zalinja and my Jabal Marra, all of them, they move from that area because the Janjaweed, they come and attack them and take their everything or valuable things. After this war started, I lost like 150 persons. All of them buried in one grave. Until now, genocide is continuing in Khartoum, in everywhere in Sudan. In our country, we don't feel safe in Darfur. If you want to go out of your house, you don't know if you come back or you die. Every day we hear about someone killed by the military of Sudan, the government of Umar al-Bashir and Janjaweed.
Eventually, it was announced that children had to board the next train. On the day of our arrival, we were taken from amongst the other children by a Dutch woman prisoner who wanted to look after some children. She decided she could not put us on that train without coming with us to her death. I can remember going with her and my by now 2-year-old baby sister in her arms to the children's dormitory, which was the assembly place. And it was crowded with children, and a man with a clipboard came in, read out names, those children followed. And gradually the dormitory emptied until the 3 of us were left. The train had left. That train went to Auschwitz.
Last time I saw my family is 2009. I not feel safe for my family back home because the government or Janjaweed, they're targeting us from everywhere.
We saw Emina as she watched the November pogrom attacks against her neighbours, and say nothing as she walked past Jews being forced to clean up the broken glass with their bare hands. A few years have passed. It is now March 1943. Irmina and Gregor have had a child, and Germany is at war. Irmina is visited at home by an old friend.
Frida, hand me the big hammer. Not again. We really don't have anything to give.
Armina, it's me.
Gerda.
Armina, won't you let me in?
What do you want? I paid you back your money long ago.
What are you doing with that big hammer?
Making it darker. Blacking out the windows. Insufficient blacking out is grounds for punishment, our block leader says.
I know, Armina. I don't have any windows left to black out. We're bombed out. Almost everything burned.
And your mother? Come in. But I don't have anything to offer you.
I wasn't there when the bombs fell. Only Mother was at home. I don't know where to go.
Okay. Just tonight, Gerda. Frida can show you the fold-up bed.
Hello, Frida.
Hello.
And your husband?
Eastern Front. I still have a little bread, but I really can't give you much. The relief organisation will look after you now.
I stood there the whole day today. I didn't even get to see someone.
Gerda, you must not despair now, do you hear? Wait. I still have a jar of preserves. I was keeping it for a special occasion. I'm sure it's hard, Gerda, but we have to endure. Don't you have anyone else?
Yesterday I thought I could go to the Old Clough and stay there. I used to work there. It was a stupid idea. It's closed like almost everything since the war began.
It's up here somewhere.
But I didn't even think about it. I just went there. There were a load of SS men. Vans kept bringing people who they shoved into the Clough.
What? Oh, there it is.
They were Jews. I saw their stars. I wanted to get away quickly.
You have to speak louder, Gerda.
One of them, a boy, he defended himself. The SS men hit him with the butts of their rifles. It made a loud crack. Then the boy fell down. I wondered how I could hear that crack when I wasn't even very close. The boy, he just lay there. I can't get that sound, that crack out of my head. My sister-in-law heard from her brother. They're taking them all to the east now, where they will kill them.
No! What a disaster. That was the last jar. I picked them in Grunwald Forest with Gregor. Not another word, Gerda. I don't want to hear any more. I really should report you. We have enough suffering and sorrow. What have the Jews got to do with us?
Armina! You're crazy!
Olivier Nazaramba is a singer-songwriter from Rwanda. During the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis, Olivier and his family were hidden by a Hutu perpetrator who'd been a schoolmate of Olivier's father. The words of Psalm 27 gave them hope that they would survive. With his sisters and brother, Olivier wrote the song Inanga in May 1994, in the midst of the genocide. It symbolises his faith that God would protect his family.
Mubyeyi utigeze untererana nkunganye nde mu b'isi mana yanjye nkwitura iki mana yanjye nkwitura iki mbwira inanga nzacuranga ngo nkunezeze mwiza we nkwitura iki mana yanjye nkwitura iki mana yanjye nkwitura iki naragutakiye urantabaro ntora umutwaro ndemereye umpesha mu mababa yawe umpesha mu mababa yawe mbwira inanga nzacuranga ngo nkunezeze mwiza we nkwitura iki mana yanjye nkwitura iki sobutungane se n'ubutwari n'impuhwe zawe zitangaje usa nawe wamwumva he usa nawe wamwumva he mbwira inanga nzacuranga ngo nkunezeze mwiza we nkwitura iki mana yanjye nkwitura iki mana yanjye nkwitura iki mbwira inanga nzacuranga ngo nkunezeze mwiza we nkwiture iki mana yanjye nkwiture iki.
Around the world today, people are still being targeted because of who they are, in conflicts, government-sponsored atrocities, and as part of everyday society in countries all over the globe and right here in the UK. We will now hear from Chief Rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregations of the Commonwealth, Ephraim Mervis.
The perpetrators of the Holocaust were ordinary men and women who chose to engage in acts of extraordinary evil. The bystanders of the Holocaust were not inhuman. Whilst they slept soundly at night, they were not oblivious to the normalization of hatred, the deportations and the murders. They chose to turn a blind eye to acts of great evil. The heroes of the Holocaust were not superhuman. They were men and women who chose to engage in acts of remarkable bravery at the risk of death. The victims of the Holocaust were innocent men, women, and children who were not given a choice, as they were cruelly herded to their deaths for the crime of being Jewish. Our societies stand and fall on the decisions that are taken, not by mad tyrants and dictators, nor by white knights in shining armor, but by ordinary men and women like you and me. Just as the genocides in Bosnia, Cambodia, Darfur, and Rwanda were carried out by ordinary people, so too the United Nations Convention on the Prevention of Genocide was drawn up by ordinary people. Today, the welfare of the Uyghurs in China and the Rohingyas in Myanmar is in the hands of ordinary people, as is the security of millions of people across Ukraine right now. Surely the time has come for ordinary men and women to guarantee that never again means never again.
Manfred Goldberg was born in Germany in 1930. From the age of 11, he was imprisoned in a ghetto, then survived forced labour in 2 concentration camps, followed by a death march, before finally being liberated in 1945. He came to Britain the following year. Manfred will now recite El Mali Rachamin, a Jewish prayer for the souls of the people who've died.
El Mali Rachamim Sharchein B'Marumim Hametzei Menucha Nochanu Al Kanfi HaShechino B'Ma'alos Kedoshim U'Teharim Kezara Hurukia Mazhirim Es Nishmos Achenu B'nei Yisrael HaKadoshim V'HaTeharim Shenoflu B'dei HaRotzachim V'Shenishpach Domom B'Auschwitz Majdanek Treblinka ובשאר מחנות השמד באירופה, שנהרגו ושנשחטו ושנשרפו ושנטבעו ושנחנקו על קידוש השם, בעבור שכל הקהל הקדוש הזה מתפללים בעת הזכורת נשמתם. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, לא כן בעל הרחמים, יסתירם כססה כנפך לעולמים, וצבאו בצבא החיים את נשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו על משכבם בשלום, ונאמר אמן.
While imprisoned by the Nazis in Vilna ghetto in Lithuania, Abraham Sutzkever wrote a poem called Unter deiner weißer Stern, Under Your White Stars, and Abraham Brudno set it to music. The 4th choir will now perform this melody as 6 memorial candles are lit by survivors of the Holocaust and the genocides that followed in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia, and Darfur. A member of the 4th choir will light a candle in memory of non-Jewish people also persecuted and murdered by the Nazis.
From all of us at the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, thank you for joining us for Holocaust Memorial Day 2023. At 4 o'clock on Friday the 27th of January, we will light the darkness as dusk falls. Join people across the country to light candles and place them in the windows of homes, workplaces, schools and universities. These candles will honour the memory of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust, of other groups persecuted by the Nazis, and the victims of more recent genocides. They will shine a light of solidarity with people today who face hostility because of their identity. So wherever you're joining us from, please be part of this national endeavour to light the darkness.
As our contributors light their memorial candles ahead of the National Light the Darkness moment, the Fourth Choir will close today's commemoration with a rendition of Lean on Me by Bill Withers, an ode to the power of friendship. Thank you all for being part of Holocaust Memorial Day 2023.
Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Please swallow your pride if by your faith you need to borrow. I'll ride up the road, I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. You gotta lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.